I remember a moment in my youth where I was taking psilocybin and I was tripping pretty hard. Colors were starting to blend into one another. Depth of perception was pretty much non-existent at that time. The walls were warping and patterns were overlapping in my field of vision. And I share this with you because it was a very intense experience and something that was very profound and allowed me to come to a conclusion in respects to how reality works as a consequence of energy transformation and translation. And the premise of the video is governed by that initial experience. And the idea is that like attracts like. So you can better know this by the law of resonance or the law of magnetism, in that when I was tripping my balls off, I literally began to see the auric fields of resonance around my friends at the time and other people in the environment. And even as I say see, that is probably incongruent or inconsistent with the reality of the matter. It's more a feeling, it's more an experience. It's not that you can just see an aura, although you could see a distortion around the fields of people. You could also see the faintness of colors like red, yellow, and also blue and purple, only around one person who I think was particularly energetically aligned at the time, but also a buzzing, a humming in the back of my mind and my understanding of what was happening around me. I was very sensitive towards a vibration that went beyond the visual perception of things. So the lesson it left me with was that energy is irrefutably real and has more influence on your life than you can ever hope to comprehend, because I experienced it. And that is a memory that will stay with me forever and segues us into the real key of, well, the occult key, in fact, of how to bring things into your reality through the law of magnetism or resonance. The first step in understanding the law of magnetism is to understand that it is all about energy. Everything is energy. If you zoom into an atom, you'll find it's comprised of nothing. All it is potential. We are all potential. And this potential is constantly in motion. In order to harness the law of magnetism and resonance, we must learn to align this potential and this energy with that which we would like to see come into fruition. This is a lesson that keeps on returning to me, irrespective of the literature that I look into and read into, irrespective of the authors like Hawkins, like Dispenza, like Maxwell Maltz. All of these people, Dawson Church, even come to the conclusion that if you want to affect the quantum, you have to first look at your internal resonance first, because it is all resonance. It's resonance with what is congruent with the energy that you're holding within you. A simple visual way to look at it, I think I would use David Hawkinson's consciousness scale for this. And it just shows you that if you're oscillating anywhere south of courage, which means you're in apathy, which means you're in jealousy, which means you're in depression, guilt, shame, you are very, very low in resonance. You are barely vibrating at all. You're almost standing still and dying. My psilocybin trip showed me that you need to be north of courage if you are ever to have any aspirations in bringing things into your field of reality. But it is not just resonating at courage, at peace, at love, at enlightenment, at tranquility, at peace and composure. It is having a mind that is trained and single pointed, that also works in congruence with where you are currently vibrating. Otherwise your energy is sporadic. It's not enough to have the energy. You need to also translate and transform it into a particular direction. The first principle of Hermeticism in the Kybalion is all is mental, all is mind. Everything that is around you, the inception point of that is first conceived here, right between your ears. Therefore, you can surmise that the key into starting to direct and create the schema, the skeleton, as it were, of the things that you would like to see come into fruition begins with imagination and visualization. In fact, Neville Goddard, who is somebody that I am a big fan of, I'm sure you also know that as well, and you should be fans as well, is that he believed the imagination was God. He felt that your very capacity to be creative, which is your imagination, was the manifestation of God. And for good reason, is because it is just that. It is the presence, it's the principle, it's the variable of creation. It starts here. It's one of God's powers to be creative, made in his image, made in his likeness. We have his powers of creativity also. So you must see clearly and feel your desired outcome in your mind from the perspective of your higher self. And another way you conceive of this is that your higher self is going to be the individual that already has the thing that you want, and feeling from the perspective of that individual that your goals have come to fruition. This will send a very powerful message to the universe that you are worthy, that you are grateful, that you are in aligned and congruent with that which you are hoping to find likeness towards. And the final, most important step, which many people fail with, is the feeling is the secret. Another lesson from Goddard. It is not enough to imagine, create, and visualize that outcome. The latter and most important part of a spell, which you can think of this of as it's all a spell, is to marry that thought with the emotion. So it's called brain and heart coherence, as Dispenza would call it. It's not enough to have coherence in mind, in pointing your mind in a particular direction, but it must be charged. That visualization will not have any weight behind it if it is not charged with a feeling. So the feeling is what materializes the mind, the mental, into 3D matter. Energy is emotion, is another way of saying energy in motion. Emotion is an energy. So the question that you need to be asking yourself more often than what you're visualizing is, how would you feel? What is the state of feeling of the individual that is congruent with this outcome? If it is a particular sum of money in your bank account, what is the feeling that is associated with the individual that has that? If it is a woman or a man in your life, what is the feeling that is associated with the individual that already has that thing? It is not enough to be in a perpetual state of wanting. You have to be in a perpetual state of having. And if you're in a perpetual state of having, then you'll always be grateful. You'll always be content. You'll always be in joy. You'll always be free from apathy and lethargy. And you will be basking in the light of joy, righteousness, and divinity. So you need to constantly reaffirm and sit in the seat of all those higher, godly, divine emotions. And to summarize it, gentlemen, it comes back to what I've always said. You do not get what you want. You get what you already are. But then again, these are just theories. Take what is valuable, discard which is not, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Take care.